I don't understand final check.
Yeah, the check you usually give someone when they leave. We'll be very sad to see you go.
Is it you or is it me? Lately I've been lost of sins. I think the change is what I need. If I'm looking for a chance or a dream, Shortland Street.
More from Shortland Street on Central tomorrow afternoon at 5:10.
Taking time to hold my place. Yesterday's another race. Just living for the times we've seen. When the writing on the wall says I'll leave Shortland Street. If you want to find a way of searching for another world, it's hard to see. Shortland Street.
Echo Romeo.
The country's capital, the nation's most crowded city. That's when you need the fastest help you can get, wherever you are, above or below the streets of London.
Your elbows? Got a bit of a graze on that one, haven't you? Just be careful of the cables, please.
I'm terrified of rolling in an ambulance.
They're quite nice. Now, probably another bunch of good-looking guys anyway, so you're all right.
Blues and Twos, Thursday Rapid Response at 8:30 on Central.
A killer strikes
Must be no murder and killed inside.
and puts a whole community under pressure, including Jardine.
At least you admit your prejudice.
This is Angel Eyes.
I need a profile of the type of person he would have picked up and brought home.
A new series of Taggart, Thursday at 9 on Central.
Barbara Hershey stars in the love triangle murder mystery Evidence of Love. That's our late film on Central at 10:45 on Thursday.
Come inside this Easter, and you can treat the family to a great American pizza with 80p off. Iceland, we're full of surprises.
He's discriminated against because he's a victim of crime. He's discriminated against because he drives a powerful car. For an open-minded view of car insurance, call Swinton on 0800 600 700 now.
For sheer intellect and quizzical talents, no one beats wholeness.
I enjoy it when people say, I'll have a pea, please, wholeness.
Humorous, George, humorous. But if he was to take the letter H, think of the word hole, and take that away from hula hoops, I should say, "Oi! End, please, wholeness! No!
These are not wholeness, wholeness.
Hula hoops are round, they're staying round, and they'll be around forever!"
I've tried it every day for 2 weeks now. And it's good. It's very good. Very good. It's extremely good. Extremely good. Oh, yeah. 2 weeks and it's good. Really?
They're talking about Kellogg's All Bran. It's very high in wheat bran fiber. Make it part of your complete breakfast for 2 weeks and see how you feel.
You should try it. I'm gonna try it. It's good.
Kellogg's All Bran cereal. Try it for 2 weeks. Love it forever.
It's one of the most underrated things in life.
Well, live TV is pretty nerve-wracking. And what you don't want is the extra worry of something like dandruff, because obviously cameras could pick up on that. But I've always thought, dandruff shampoos, just how good could my hair look? New Head & Shoulders clears dandruff, yet its active ingredient doesn't strip the hair. I love it. My hair is now so clean and shiny. I don't care what the camera crew gets up to. Forget dandruff. Have beautiful hair.
Hello?
Lisa, what can I get Dad for his birthday?
Off the top of my head, a Black & Decker cordless screwdriver with double function bit, or a 72p socket set.
He's got one.
Apparently, you've still got it.
Oh, yeah.
Or a Seconda quartz watch with rotating bezel, and a Remington steam set with moisture conditioning steam.
What would he want with that?
No, I want that for helping you out.
For a whole catalogue of answers, Argos takes care of it.
From fairy tale princess to a woman spurned and alone. In tomorrow's Daily Mirror, get the Diana story, a sensational glossy magazine free for every reader. Packed with intimate pictures, it uncovers her joys, her triumphs, her despair, and her private passions. No man can resist, no woman can ignore the Diana story. Free in tomorrow's Daily Mirror.
Replace your old central heating boiler now and we'll take the heat off paying until 1997. Call 0345 450 450 now.
UEFA Champions League live at home in Turin. Can the Italian champions Juventus possibly pull back Real Madrid's one-goal lead in the second leg of the quarter-finals? The first match was brilliant. The second promised to be even better. See the action, the silky skills, superb football you can't afford to miss. UEFA Champions League live, Wednesday at 7:20 on Central.
The father of a boy killed by police 10 years ago has himself been shot and seriously injured. A vet jailed for killing his wife with animal sedative has lost an appeal against his murder conviction. And the residents angry over plans to build a children's home. More on these reports in Central News, 6:25.
This is Central, the time 5:40.
From the studios of ITN, the news with John Suchet.
Good evening. Britain's gun laws are at the centre of new controversy tonight, less than a week after the Dunblane massacre. It follows the arrest of a boy after 4 guns were stolen from a Buckinghamshire house. The guns were locked away in the home of a member of a gun club. Senior MPs are demanding changes to the law. Here's Howell Jones on the hunt for the boy and the new row.
In one ordinary house in Buckinghamshire, 8 guns were kept under lock and key. 4 went missing after a break-in. The gun's owner showed me the loft steel cabinet which held the weapons exactly as the current firearms law specifies.
Why do you keep guns here?
He's asked to keep them. I've got them in a... Oh, I'll show you the cupboard. I've got them in there. All members' clubs keep their guns at home, but they have to be in a special cabinet. And you have to have police permission, of course. Got a firearms certificate to go with it. And all firearms people, you know, all people who belong to small ball clubs keep their guns in home.
Missing guns meant fear and foreboding in this community. While the police operation continued, school doors were kept firmly locked from the inside, even to late arrivals. Police arrested 2 juveniles earlier today after a tip-off. 3 firearms have so far been recovered.
What are your thoughts and feelings about firearms which are kept in people's homes?
I think it would be inappropriate for me to speculate on that subject. I would hope, and I'm utterly sure, that the public inquiry following the Dunblane tragedy will address those issues.
This incident has at least ended peacefully, but in the wake of the Dunblane massacre, it has once again raised tough questions about the issue of gun control. One former Home Office minister says the Dunblane inquiry will take too long. Tighten the law now.
There is no case whatsoever for handguns to be kept at home, and I think that the government should get on with this.
That does raise another question, and that is whether collections of weapons at places like gun clubs don't offer to criminal elements an arsenal which they could then plunder.
So are guns more safely stored in clubs or at home? The government is keeping an open mind. Howell Jones, ITN.
The latest gun controversy came on the same day as the first funerals were held of the victims of the Dunblane massacre. Emma Crozier and Joanna Ross were buried in a joint ceremony this morning. Their classmates Abigail McLennan and Kevin Hassel were buried this afternoon. All were private funerals, and ITN and other broadcasters have agreed to a request from their families not to film the services. Next on the early evening news. I'm ashamed, says Frank, but don't ask me yet about retirement. On board the USS Independence as it steams for the Straits of Taiwan. And the extraordinary plan to evacuate 1 million people in the drought. Frank Bruno arrived back at Heathrow today, cheered on by fans, and declared, "I'm disappointed, gutted and ashamed." On his long-term future, he wanted time to think. On his short-term future, "I just want to chill out," he said. Chris Roberts was at the arrivals terminal.
He may now be the people's ex-champion, but he's still a reigning hero.
Frank Bruno came home from Las Vegas £4 million heavier, but a championship belt lighter. It took Mike Tyson just 6 minutes to regain the title he lost 6 years ago. The end for Bruno of a short but sweet career as champion, and heartbreak for his millions of fans.
There won't be no more disappointed than me, you know what I mean? Because I went out there, it's 100 years since the heavyweight has won it, you know what I mean? And I'm very, very gutted, not disappointed, you know what I mean? I feel ashamed coming through the airport at this time and moment talking to you, you know, so they won't feel more gutted than me.
But you got a great reception, didn't you?
Yeah, very nice reception, but, you know what I mean? I'm a proud guy, and I'd like to come back with my belt, you know, and at the end of the day, you know, I feel sorry for all the British people that went over there, spent all their money. I think there was a record 7,000 went over there, you know, and it's sad in a way, but that's how the things go.
So what are the plans now, Frank?
I'm going to sort of like try and spend some time with my family, you know what I mean, and relax, because I've been away for 9 weeks, you know, and I've just got a baby boy, and I just want to chill out, you know, and just recharge my battery.
Do you want to keep fighting though, do you think?
I can't really say at the moment, you know what I mean, I just want to go home and spend some time with my family, and I'll be much more in a better and a constructive position to say what I'm going to do, you know what I mean. If I say this, that now, then later on they're going to say I'm crazy, and I'm going to go home and spend a little time with my family. But I'd like to say a special thank you to everybody that went out there, everybody that supported me, everybody that rang, everybody that sent the cards and flowers and telegrams, faxes and all that. It's enough respect, but I'm sorry that I didn't bring back the belt.
Belt or not, Bruno's wife and daughter were just happy to have him back in one piece.
Hello, all right, yeah.
Despite a public uncertainty about his future, meanwhile, Britain's most successful heavyweight for a century must be wondering if he really wants another duel with Tyson.
Thank you very much, officer. Thank you very much for looking after us.
Say farewell to the fight game is what most experts are telling Frank tonight. Chris Roberts, ITN, Heathrow.
Taiwan began evacuating people from its frontline islands today as China prepared for its latest round of war games. The largest American fleet seen in the area since the Vietnam War is on high alert. Our Asia correspondent Mark Austin spent a day on board the aircraft carrier USS Independence, close to Taiwan.
In the warm waters off Taiwan, a Cold War is raging. And as China's war games escalate, the Americans are putting on a show of their own. And it's a show they don't want the communist Chinese to miss. We spent 24 hours on board the USS Independence, a giant floating airfield, which every day now catapults skywards an awesome array of air power. It's a display of force deliberately designed to deter.
You know, we train for it all the time, but to actually come and do what we're trained for, you know, to go ahead and show our resolve and provide that potent force that's going to keep the peace over here, guys are really proud of that.
106 3/4 mile, call the ball. 106, stop that ball.
Let's go on the ball. Though they're monitoring the Chinese war games, the Americans are at the moment staying well away to avoid confrontation. But the Chinese say their very presence is a provocative interference in their internal affairs. And there's a political problem. Diplomatically, the Americans only recognize the Beijing government, not the Taiwanese. All there is a vague commitment to help them defend themselves.
But many Americans believe the United States has a moral responsibility to protect the new democracy in Taiwan. And few around here believe this fleet will stand idly by if China goes for broke and invades the island.
As dust falls over the Independence, China's next move can only be guessed at. Its determination to recover Taiwan cannot be underestimated. The Americans could be playing the policeman of the Pacific for some time yet. Mark Austin, ITN, on board the USS Independence.
Here, Yorkshire Water was accused today of planning to evacuate more than 1 million people from their homes at the height of last summer's drought. The claim was made to a public inquiry which opened in Leeds today. From there, Ben McCarthy reports.
The inquiry in Leeds is hearing evidence from hundreds of people who were affected by last summer's drought, when the situation got so bad that tankers had to be used to bring in water supplies. And now, in a report for the inquiry, Bradford Council says Yorkshire Water was so worried about reservoirs running dry altogether that the company wanted emergency planning officers to prepare for the evacuation of large areas of West Yorkshire. Bradford and the surrounding area would have been affected by the plan. 1 million people would have been moved from their homes. The inquiry will hear from Bradford's emergency planning officer, who says the proposal was made by Yorkshire Water in meetings in August. But the company denies ever coming up with such an idea.
It would be a ridiculous suggestion. We certainly wouldn't make any kind of a suggestion of that nature. It's another misrepresentation of the truth that we have come across once or twice over the past several months, and I hope we can clear those kinds of things up at this inquiry.
The inquiry at Leeds Town Hall will last 2 weeks, but Yorkshire Water will not be bound by any of its recommendations. Ben McCarthy, ITN, Leeds.
Lawyers for Rosemary West have started an appeal to get her life sentences overturned. They're claiming Fred West carried out the Cromwell Street murders alone. Our Home Affairs correspondent Kevin Dunn was in court.
Richard Ferguson QC, who defended Rose West at her trial, is also conducting her application to appeal against her 10 murder convictions. Superintendent John Bennett, who built the case against her, was in court, but Mrs. West was not, preferring to stay in Durham jail and, according to her son Stephen, not really wanting the appeal.
The trial was very fair, and I don't think really they've got much to appeal against. And I know my mum certainly doesn't really want to appeal. She says she's pretty happy where she is.
So the dock was conspicuously empty, as Mrs. West's counsel argued there was no direct evidence linking her to the murders. Of utmost significance, Mr. Ferguson said, was the evidence that before even meeting Rose West, Fred West had murdered, raped, assaulted and harassed young women, and that he had done so acting on his own. The hearing continues tomorrow. Kevin Dunn, ITN, at the Court of Appeal.
Health news. New NHS guidelines to improve cervical smear tests were announced today. They follow a string of errors that have provoked strong criticism of the screening programme. Adrian Britton reports.
Cervical cancer kills 1,500 women in England and Wales every year. Britain has the second highest death rate of the disease in Europe. Yet the cervical screening programme has been plagued by human error. Last month's checks at the Kent and Canterbury Hospital revealed mistakes had been made in 70,000 smear tests. 3 years ago at Inverclyde Hospital, 20,000 women had to be rechecked after a woman who tested negative developed the cancer. Under the new guidelines, the first screening will aim to detect between 85 and 95% of abnormal smears. More than 80% of women will receive written test results within 4 weeks. And at least 90% of women referred for examinations will be seen within 8 weeks. And there'll be a new system of rapid double screening.
A slide is looked at by a first reader who looks to see if there's any abnormalities or not. And then a second reader will have another look at it and will see whether they agree with each other.
Research has also shown laboratory staff quickly lose concentration when examining too many slides. They'll now be restricted to screening 8 an hour. Adrian Britton, ITN.
Britain stood alone once again in Brussels today, this time over a ban on growth hormones in beef. The Agriculture Minister, Tony Baldry, said there was no scientific evidence to justify a ban. The rest of the EU disagreed. Our Europe correspondent, Jonathan Munro, heard the arguments.
Meat is the latest battleground between Britain and Europe, and specifically what can and can't be given to farm animals to breed them leaner. The European Commission today proposed tougher checks on cattle and a wider ban on artificial hormones. It's good for the consumer, they say, and it'll cut crime.
The use of hormones is just like the use of drugs. There's a hormone mafia there, and it'll take time for the national authorities to ensure that we have 100% hormone-free beef in the community.
But other nations, notably the Americans, do use hormones, and the British today argued that banning them here would spark a trade war, which European farmers would lose.
I'm not sure that we lost the argument today. I think community colleagues took a different view, and I think we'll see in the long run whether our advice would have been better taken by colleagues.
For now, they chose not to take it, and the UK lost the vote 14-1.
Not for the first time, the British arguments have fallen on deaf ears here today. And though it doesn't want to, the United Kingdom will now have to comply with the new rulings. Jonathan Munro, ITN, in Brussels.
Nelson Mandela spoke today of the loneliest time of his life. Not the 27 years he spent in prison, but the time he spent with his wife, Winnie, when he came out. The South African president is now seeking a divorce. Andrew Simmons reports.
He walked free after 27 years in jail to a world enthralled at the reunion of Nelson Mandela and his campaigning wife who had waited. But a crowded courtroom was told in pained tones by a somber president today that soon after his release from prison in 1990, he realized his marriage was all but over. He said, "I was the loneliest man during the period I stayed with her after coming back from prison. If the entire universe persuaded me to reconcile with her, I would not. I am determined to get rid of the marriage. It exists only on paper. Mr. Mandela, who married Winnie in 1958, said any hope of reconciliation was destroyed by a later revelation that she had an adulterous affair. During their separation, putting on a public front of friendliness, Mr. Mandela had hoped for a dignified divorce. But the court hearing is acrimonious, with Winnie saying the marriage could still be saved, at the same time making a major financial claim against the president. Mr. Mandela, who says she simply wants to fund an excessive lifestyle, will be cross-examined tomorrow. Andrew Simmons, ITN.
On News at 10 with Trevor MacDonald, Britain is facing a heroin epidemic. We'll have a special report on how police are trying to stem the growing demand for the drug. The main news is the call for changes to the gun law after the latest incident this morning. That's Monday's early evening news until 5:40 tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Hello, good evening. Well, the week ahead looks as if it's shaping up to be a changeable one, with plenty of pleasant spring sunshine around, but also bands of rain crossing the country. More on that later. As far as tonight goes, we've still got that patchy light rain or drizzle on the eastern side of the country, possibly sleet or snow on the higher ground there. Elsewhere, dry, apart from a few showers on the Welsh coast, but we are expecting some mist and fog patches floating around. Do watch out for these. And temperatures dip to around 1 in those clearer slots. So going on to tomorrow morning, once again a dull, damp, drizzly start for the eastern side of the country. The likelihood of sleet or snow on the higher ground too. And cloudier for western Scotland, along with the odd spot of rain. Now elsewhere, a misty start to the day. Slowly but surely things brighten up. And it ought to turn out fairly dry, but there's always the outside chance of a shower cropping up. So with our temperatures, much like today in the south, a high of 10 or 11. 11 is 52 in Fahrenheit. Pegged back on the eastern side of the country though, struggling to make 4 or 39 in Fahrenheit in the Aberdeen area, for instance. Now a very quick look ahead. And there's a reminder of tomorrow's weather. Then on Wednesday, it's a case of that dull, damp weather on the eastern side of the country. Dry elsewhere with sunshine around at first, but then we've rain pushing in from the southwest later on in the day. Come Thursday, well, that rain clears away. Again, dull and damp on the eastern side, but altogether a drier, brighter day with temperatures around 10 or 15 Fahrenheit, perhaps the odd scattered shower out to the west. On Friday, or rainy for much of the country, but brighter weather getting into the northwest later on. And that's the way we expect things to go. Here's the summary.
Sponsored by PowerGen, generating electricity, whatever the weather.
When it comes to sport, there are players who thrive on the unexpected, players who are dangerously unlucky, and players who are downright incompetent. Some will go flat out for victory and end up being head over heels. They're all on Oddballs, Wednesday fun at 9:30 on Central.
Next this evening on Central, Home and Away.
Good morning. Is it raining? Don't touch the light switch, Mr. Sugarman. Just sit tight and we'll get an emergency plumber round. Yes, it's a proper tradesman. No, you can't be too careful.
Good morning, Sunderland's Connections.
Call 0800 123 456 and give us the hassle.
For information about training for the Volunteer Police Service, ring 0345 272 272. Would you care to help?
As a journalist, I'm on the go all day, so I need a hairspray I can rely on. I don't want to worry about how my hair looks. Styling used to make my hair look so unhealthy and dull. Then I found Pantene.
Pantene's new hairspray holds and protects your style on the outside, while the Pro Vitamin nourishes the hair.
Whatever happens, Pantene holds my style the way I like it, leaving my hair looking really healthy and shiny. It never lets me down.
Pantene hairspray. Great hold and healthy looking hair.
Introducing the no-nonsense Toyota Corolla. It has doors which open to let you in, and a steering wheel, so it's easy to go round corners. Look at the wheels, they're round. And it's all painted with paint, except the windows so that you can see. Best of all, it has an engine so it goes, and a foot brake. so it stops. It's great. The Toyota Corolla. The car with 16-valve engine, driver's airbag, central locking, quartz clock and cigar lighter, radio cassette, anti-submarine seats, mud flaps and a whole lot of other stuff.
From fairy tale princess to a woman spurned and alone. In tomorrow's Daily Mirror, get the Diana story. A sensational, glossy magazine free for every reader. Packed with intimate pictures, it uncovers her joys, her triumphs, her despair, and her private passions. No man can resist, no woman can ignore the Diana story. Free in tomorrow's Daily Mirror.
Pumping headache, muscle pain, flu symptoms. If pain strikes, hit back with Solpadeine. The power to hit pain where it hurts.
Home Secretary Michael Howard has called for tougher sentencing for rapists. Have you been a victim of rape, or has anyone in your family suffered at the hands of a rapist? How did it affect your lives? Do you think rapists should be locked up for life, or do you think tougher sentencing will do nothing to deter them? Whatever your view, call us now on 0891 111141. That's 0891 111141.
Get ready to play talking telephone numbers. Dial your way to a fortune or dial your way out of debt.
Let's plunge.
It could be you.
Don't just sit there feeling smug. Call us.
You could be quids in by the end of the evening. Talking telephone numbers.
You won £10,000.
A Monday Gambit at 7 on Central.
Now on Central, it's the season of goodwill to all men in Summer Bay as we go home and away.
We belong together, you and I forever and ever, no matter where you are, you're my guiding star.
And from the very first moment I saw you, I never felt such emotion. I'm walking on air just to know.
To know
you are there,
you are there. Hold me in your arms, don't let me go. I want to stay forever, home and away, with you each day. Let me be the one that you turn to,
someone you can rely on.
Closer each day, home and away.
I'm sorry I sent Kathy up as my messenger.